Welcome to this episode of Essays for Youth. I'm Stephen Tubbs. This is Bob McAdam. He is personally the biggest hero I have in my life, and he smiles all the time and he says, "Ah, shucks." But there is a project that we did a few years ago with Mr. McAdam called 25 Steps, and much of the story is based right where we're sitting and about 25 steps away. And one of Bob's neighbors, the late Sherwin Butch Dessens, Bob and Mr. Dessens were prisoners of war in Stalag Luft 1 in Barth, Germany. Can you talk about what that was like to reflect on your memories from so long ago and then meet someone like Butch who, lo and behold, what are the odds? You guys are 25 steps away from each other in another apartment, but you shared the same experiences.
Yeah, that coincidence of living so close to each other after being in the same prison camp and the same compound in the prison camp, just living 50 yards apart, we didn't know each other. Mm-hmm. But we had so many things that were in common as we went through our life, even after service.
But the things in common, these parallel stories, but yet you never met each other. And I know for both of you, this really, I don't know, it could have gone away where I don't want to talk about it. Wow, I can't believe the coincidence, but that's not how you guys approached it.
Well, no, we had somebody that stepped in and saw a story that this is such a great coincidence that made a story. And that person is sitting right here.
But it was the best thing I've ever done.
Oh, well, I'm grateful for that. I'll tell you what, Butch and I were old people at this time, and we had written our little thing about our experience, but it was way in the back of the closet. Nobody was interested in our story. But when you put it together, it made a difference. And I'll tell you what, I am just amazed at how many people have come up to me and said, I saw your they say your movie, mm-hmm. and I loved it. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are their very words. Mm-hmm. I saw your movie and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And you have to see this film. I think wherever we're existing on the internet, you'll be able to find a link and see it for free. It's called 25 Steps. How important is it? And I know this is such a general question, but for those that are much younger than us and we're talking with right now, how important, no matter how ugly our history, how important is it, in your opinion, we must remember?
Oh, gosh. You're asking me a question that I think stumps me.
Well, I think you have to remember, right? You can't forget.
Yeah, you have to remember, but better write it down.
Mm-hmm. Like you did?
Yeah.
You know, the reason I ask is because I think a lot of times of late, we live in this, what has been kind of termed this cancel culture or revisionist history. And that's not to say that bad things have not happened. But just because you want to pretend that doesn't change your life.
No.
You know, that doesn't change the fact that 6 million Jews, for example, were killed in World War II at the hands of the Nazis and Adolf Hitler. That's not pleasant, but we cannot forget. And what do they say? They say if you forget history, you might just repeat it, right?
Right. It's the good history you can repeat, but you don't want to go back and do that over again, that Holocaust thing.
No, you do not. Let me ask you one more question about 25 Steps. What is it like to be a celebrity, after the fact, and people do recognize you and so forth? I hope that's also, besides you being modest and humble, I hope that's also made you realize that you most certainly have had an incredible life.
Well, it has. It has. I mean, I never realized how people would react to certain kinds of things that happened in my life, because I didn't think that much of them. I mean, I just didn't think about it.
Is that one of the reasons? Is one of the reasons because as many people of your generation have said, you know, everybody was doing it, and you had a job to do.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. But also, we've been so busy. At least I was so busy doing other things. You know, I was involved in all kinds of things and raising a family and everything else. I didn't have time to reflect too much way back then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I wrote it down when it happened, because even though it was tucked away far in the back of the closet, it was there. And it could be pulled out at any time.
And you know where else it was there, if I may? It was right here. And
Yeah.
It was in your mind as well, and only accessible if you allowed it.
That's true. But I will say this, that the fact that it was in my mind was partly because I wrote it down.
Yep.
And so it's a good idea to keep notes.
Mm-hmm. Before we wrap up this segment of Essays for Youth, I want to ask you a pointed question, because I think it's important for people watching. When you enlisted in the Army Air Corps, how old were you?
I was 22. I was 22, yeah, and when I was shot down, I was 23.
22, and then 23. And for many, that would be considered kind of an older man. I mean,
yeah.
People were faking their age and going into World War II at 17, 18, 19.
Yeah, longevity at that time was in the 60s, late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
And you had relatives, your brothers.
Yes.
How many?
They're all gone.
How many were in the service?
5 in the service. My mother.
Your mother.
Yeah.
Thank you for reflecting, and
Yeah.
God bless your mother, and thank you so much for watching. Bob McAdam.
Well,
I'm Stephen
let
Tubbs.
me
And
let me
one more
say
thing.
Thank you to Stephen, because he's the guy that brought it all together and brought it out and made this happen. So.
And it was my honor. I'm Stephen Steffen.
I'm Bob McAdam.
This is Bob. Thanks for watching Essays for Youth.
Okay.